Hey guys, I want to give you a tip for when you're cutting out your different layers and you notice that one of your parts is really thin. Because when it's thin and you cut it out, all of a sudden this part becomes really flimsy and floppy, and we don't want this to bend over or break or flop down when it goes into our actual tunnel book. So here are some tips on how to support those areas. The first option is one of the simpler ones, and I like this one best. It's just going to be doubling up the paper on the back side. So if you flip this over, can you see how I have already glued a second piece of paper onto this? I glued that piece of paper onto the back of my design before I cut it out. So that way, once it was dry and I cut out my design, this whole area is double thick. Since it's double thick, it's a lot more sturdy. Like this area is hard to bend compared to other sides that are a lot easier to bend because it's just one layer thick. So that double thickness is a great way to add some extra support. Now, if that's not enough, or if you want to do something different, I have another option. What about taking a toothpick? And you could use that as a support back behind your entire thing. And you can glue this down, you can tape this down, and use it to support your object. Now, this is going to be a lot more sturdy than just the second piece of paper. So if I was going to do this, I would probably use some liquid glue or some hot glue, and I'd maybe use some tape to start it off to make sure everything stayed in the right spot. Grab some tape. So what I would do is I would take just a little bit of tape to start off, and I'd line everything up, and I would just tape down one little part so it doesn't move. Once it's taped down in the right spot, I might even give myself a little bit of tape up here too. If the tape works good enough, you could use that. It depends how detailed your other side is so you don't see through to it. But you could also then take your Elmer's glue or liquid glue, whatever it is, and put glue on the top and bottom part, let the glue set, and then peel the tape off, and so it's just the glue holding the toothpick in place. That would be a great way to make this a whole lot more sturdy. So if you have a really thin area that goes into something bigger, I would either glue paper to the back or glue in a toothpick. Here is how I would do that. So you notice my little leaf here is pretty thin as well. It needs some extra support. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scrap piece of paper and I'm going to glue back behind it before I cut it out. Now I want to make sure I put it in the right spot. So I'm going to take my scissors, and I know I'm going to have to cut this part out later anyways. So I'm just going to do this so I know exactly where it needs to go. There we go. So see how I kind of isolated it by doing that? I could even use some of these papers. Now, when I flip it over, I know exactly where I need to glue my piece to. Now, you could use liquid glue. I like glue stick. This is just my different version of a glue stick. I'm going to put glue all over the area I'm trying to glue to. And I'll put my paper down on top. Now, you want to make sure the paper is not just in the area you're cutting, but a little bit below it as well. That's going to help support it once you cut it out. So my extra thickness goes down onto the boot. If it was just extra thick up there, then it's more likely to fall over because it's just heavier. So you want that thickness to go down farther. So it might even be better if I move this down a little bit more. So I'm going to put some glue a little lower down here, and I'll put it back on. Now you want to let this glue set before you cut anything out. But this is a great trick to make sure that your really thin areas don't flop over once they get cut out.